I'm going to call the meeting of the Sustainability Commission to order. Oh, and Lauren, will you lead us in the pledge? Okay. It does not at this time look like we have a quorum, but we're going to go through with mostly information on our Arbor Day activities for Friday. Unless anybody has some old business they want to talk about or bring up, let's move forward to that. I think Tucker can give us a pretty good update. He's worked really hard on a bunch of things like retaining funding, so.
Yeah, so I guess we'll start with the Arbor Day event, and then we can talk about the tree funding, and we'll go from there, I guess. Well, I guess the tree funding will be a part of the Arbor Day discussion because it's a part of the event. So to begin, I guess, we have been on and off planning an Arbor Day event for a few months now. Initially it included a cleanup and some other things that were to occur, but we officially received a letter, I think 2 weeks ago, that our grant from the U.S. Forest Service was cut, and we had about $800,000 remaining in that grant, and I've been working diligently for the past few weeks trying to figure out if we can get onto a different pass-through grantor or how we can retain those funds, and therefore some of the events that we had hoped for the Arbor Day event kind of just faltered because we didn't have that push on my end. So we are hoping to still run an Arbor Day event this Friday, the 25th, and it will just be a scaled-back version. So we're still looking at having the library do their story hour at the Fox Park Amphitheater. I believe that is 11 o'clock, if I remember correctly. It might be 10 o'clock. I was hoping. 11 sounds right. I think it was 11, yeah. Hopefully Fonda will be here and we can discuss that a little bit more at length. And then afterwards we will do our normal Arbor Day proclamation activities. We got the proclamation signed today at the Board of Works. And then we'll be taking some time to recognize the Rotary for their donation to planting trees along the Clear Lake Loop. And then I was hoping today we could just finalize some of those items. That way we have something to actually present to them that's, initially we were going to present the planting plan for this fall, but because the funding got cut, we can no longer match their funds with federal government funds. And so that planting is being scaled back quite a bit, and so I'm trying to figure out exactly what that'll look like. So instead, I would like to be able to present to them what the memorial or signage will look like that includes the Rotaries branding, and then I'm hoping that we can at least give a general map. I can create a general map of the area that we intend to plant. So, and to that end, I handed out a little flyer. I know we've had a few different discussions as far as monuments go. We've talked about maybe contracting a service like Covens to create like a stone monument. But if we wanted to go like the signage route, this is our branded signage that we did for the trails and greenways.
There is a sign by the Parks Department that, like, the Rotary donated money for the garden, the gazebo there, I think. There's a sign already there if we wanted something to look at as a reference.
Yeah.
But sorry, I'd go on with this.
Yeah, this was just one of the ideas that Nick had come up with potentially as a way we could create signage for it. We would just do similar to like the Clear Lake Loop on the front page there. We could create something specifically for the loop. We could call it like maybe the Redbud Loop or the Rotary Redbud Loop as like a subsection of that trail as a way to kind of further distinguish their donation. And then I could work on something and have it kind of mocked up by Friday is kind of my hope. Unless we want to go more with the traditional stone monument like we had talked about previously, so. Yes.
Would it be kind of similar to like a street sign where it would be and then posted in the ground?
Yeah, like along the loop, like at the head of the trail or
I
wherever.
love this, and I love that it has a QR code and it has, I love that, I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I think you can see kind of what it'll look like on this page, so it's like literally a trail marker, but
Yeah.
it's, I don't know, 2-3 inches wide, 4 feet tall.
Either that or, you know, or a separate sign or a sign to go on one of the signposts already with an acknowledgement or a, you know, a grateful appreciation to Rotary of LaPorte for their donation, you know, something to the effect to give them, you know, credit and proper appreciation for the donation because they work really hard to raise money, so.
Yeah.
I think that would be the part of it for them.
Well, at a minimum, I would say the acknowledgement of their generous donation, whether it's a separate sign or we put it on here, we've looked at a stone monument because they're not as susceptible to vandalism.
Possible by,
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
yeah.
And so we would probably, you know, we want to have the plan for it, but we would probably put that in concurrent to the tree planting, which looks like will be this fall now. So.
yeah, we will still be able to plant a certain amount of trees this fall using their funds. It just won't be to the extent that we had hoped initially. I'm thinking, I mean, based off of current tree prices, I'm hoping that we can plant anywhere from 20 to 25 trees with the money that they donated, which is still a fair amount of trees. That's
And
not,
that gets us a flowering within the first year, within a year or two, or?
I think within the
Within-
first year, we would be looking at, I mean, it wouldn't be the spectacular flowering right away, but like in 5 years, we would have something similar to, you know, Washington DC or something
Yeah.
to that effect, kind of the effect that they were going for.
Would a fundraiser, like say at Fox Park, because we've lost all this tree money, would that be an option? Or is that in sort of conflict of anything?
No, I mean, we could run fundraising events, for sure. I mean, it's very typical.
I'm thinking of the Heroes fundraiser that they do. You know, he posted, he was donated, and they charge, you know, I know a guy in a band, so.
Yeah,
I mean, it just.
Yes. No, we're gonna have to
Because I
probably
know
raise
folks
money.
are upset about the trees that were removed in Indiana and things. So maybe another week we could, I mean, I'd be willing to volunteer some people for that.
yeah, no, I think that I'm definitely open to a conversation about having a fundraiser in the future focused on tree planting.
September 26th.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. We created the tree donation fund probably about this time last year, with the intention that we could start to solicit funding for tree planting. I mean, we always knew that the money from the federal government would only get us so far. As far as the replanting of trees, we have to cut down 900 trees still, and with the funding, we thought we'd only get about 450 back. So we were always gonna have to try to fund another 450 trees, and so that's why we kind of created that fund and, you know, doing a fundraiser. We're still gonna be removing trees with our street department team, but now we don't have any specific funds identified for that replacement. So we're just gonna have to work harder. So yeah, a fundraising event, something we may be able to do every year, even if it's something that we do on Arbor Day every year, you know, moving forward, at least we're getting our foot in the door this year as kind of starting that tradition. So, yeah, I'm open to the idea. Maybe we could even have like a little donation box.
Well, if you can get everyone to just, you know, donate.
Yeah,
Even, and I'm not saying it's up to the city to report, but, you know, the department has, everybody buy 3 packages of hot dogs, and you can sell it, you know, the more you can get in to sell to raise money, the better.
yeah,
And I'm sure there are plenty of people who love to do that, and I'm trying to sell it.
We're definitely more desperate for funding when, you know, when $800,000 of $1 million grant goes away.
Yeah.
Tucker had, you know, and
So it's gone, it's not on hold?
no, so it was, our pass-through grantor received a cease and desist letter.
That's different than what happened a couple months ago.
Yes. But there are other communities that received continuation letters. Michigan City, for example, is one of them. So we are hoping that we can appeal in some way.
Isn't that in connection to maybe like their contractor or who they've hired was federally approved or something like
So
that?
there have been various reasons given as to why our pass-through grantor was chosen as one of the ones to be canceled. From my understanding, it had something to do with the new direction that they're moving as far as what these funds were allocated for. I know that initially when we applied for $10 million, and a portion of that $10 million was for a youth conservation corps kind of team that we would create with the schools or something to that effect that would help us maintain these trees. And when we were awarded, we were only awarded 1/10 of that, and so our main focus has always been public health and safety. We have 900 trees that can be potentially dangerous to our citizens that need to be removed in the next 5 years. And so our main focus shifted from all of the cool things we could do with the money to, hey, this is the core of what we need to do with the money. And so,
I really like that you said all of the cool things we can do with the money.
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the health and safety of our community is more important than a jobs program. But because that was a part of our grant application, we were paired with the AmeriCorps or the the Corps network, who helps assist in AmeriCorps grants, which are usually used in these Youth Conservation Corps programs. And I think that wasn't aligned with the current goals of this administration, and therefore their pass-through was canceled. But we never applied to be with their pass-through organization. We were placed with their pass-through as a part of this whole program, and therefore we are negatively impacted by an arbitrary decision that we didn't make. And if they were to look at our work and our updated scope of work based off the budget that we were awarded, they would see that it is more in alignment with what their current goals are. And therefore that's the argument we're making, and we're hoping to talk to the right person to see if we can get that to happen. Like specifically, instead of going through a pass-through, if we could just get a direct agreement with the Forest Service for the continuation of our funding, I think that would be useful.
It must be noted that Tucker worked really hard to try to keep this, and actually the work that he has done has become a model for them to use to show these people that are getting the grant still how to do it, because it's fully inventoried. The inventory's in our GIS system, tree by tree, the condition assessments, all that's data that's accumulated the way they want it done.
That is what I've heard. So we were on a conversation with our pass-through grantor, and our pass-through grantor indicated that the model that we have set up as far as asset management and risk management mapping is something that they are using as a blueprint for other communities who have got to keep their funding on how they need to move forward.
Copyrighted.
Yeah. So if that is the case, and we are kind of that blueprint that they're using, it doesn't make sense to me as to why our funding was cut. So hopefully we'll have it reinstated, and we can just move forward like this never happened. But in the meantime, it is affecting us for the foreseeable future.
Tucker, do you have anything else?
No, not really.
Schedule of events for Friday?
Yeah, so, I want to pin down the timeline as to exactly when they were planning on having that,
Story hour.
the story hour, and then everything else would kind of be based off of that. I would think after the Rotary recognition, we could hang out for a little while, but I don't think we would have anything else after that. We canceled the cleanup like we had talked about, and the mural competition that we had kind of wanted to push forward just due to time constraints and, limitations on hours. So, yeah, it's scaled back quite a bit, but I think that it still does the core of what we want to do, which is recognize the Rotary for being such a good community partner, and then, interact with the kids and get them to recognize that Arbor Day is an actual important holiday, and that the trees in our community are something unique and special, and that we should be proud of them. So,
And I think this will end up being 5 years down the road, it's gonna be quite special to go along this trail and see all the flowering trees. If you're seeing them right now all around the city, all the different varieties, it's
Yeah.
pretty special.
yeah, I agree with you.
I think in the future, to make this a big event, it would be really nice to coordinate with the schools to make it a field trip day. Day. Like
Yeah.
my daughter's school went on a field trip to the library today.
Yeah, I will say also, I
Maybe
didn't.
that's where fun was at.
Yeah, well, I didn't mention it at Board of Works, and now I haven't mentioned it yet. Today is Earth Day too, so as the Sustainability Commission, I probably should have recognized that this is also Earth Day, and that's another important sustainable holiday for us. So in the future, I would like to incorporate maybe more. I know that the park department and I have worked a little bit on how we can incorporate into their Earth Day 5K event, which seems to be super successful. I mean, they already have 150 participants, and this is their first year running the race, which is very impressive. So,
Maybe an aggregation of us all to the celebration of Earth Week, Arbor Day.
yeah,
all of it.
exactly. I think in the past, the park department was the only ones who did a formal event for these 2 days, and so now with our help, hopefully we can expand on that and make it into something that we celebrate every year. And maybe could become a fundraiser for our trees in the future as well, which I think would be important. So, yeah.
That sounds good. I think the only other item of business that I wanted to mention today is just for everybody to be thinking about what we should be pursuing the rest of the year. You know, we've got lots of things. I mean, the community like LaPorte, the sustainability of the lakes is big. Jeff's heavily involved with that. You know, the weed treatment, the aquatic treatment, all these things, and the, you know, the urban canopy, this tree canopy we have is spectacular. I'm getting bugged to replace a tree that is no longer there so we can get the shade back, and it's just, I'm sure the people on Indiana Avenue will be anxious until those trees are there.
It'll be a while.
I've heard some people talk negatively, but I tell them, I said, everything's been evaluated really well. There's been foresters doing it, and you gotta look at the,
Trees were very important.
and you have to look at the path of the utilities to be redone. There's all these things that have to take up a path, and so sometimes those big trees just have to come down because of that combination of age, condition, and the
And
nature of the work.
roots are so deep.
Yeah, yep. So, does anybody have anything else further to bring up since we don't have anything to vote on today, or,
I guess I have 2 things.
okay.
So touching on the Indiana Ave thing, it is a lot to lose a lot of trees like that. We saw the same thing occur on Weller Avenue when NIPSCO did their upgrade in that area. And I grew up over there, so it looked very different for me coming home one year from college to see Weller look like a landing strip, right? But the good thing about the state is that they have committed to exceeding the amount taken down by like 50%. So 100 trees were removed, 150 will be replanted. It will take a long time for them to be of the same character that was removed, but at the same time, it is an urban canopy. Like they're a part of our infrastructure, and to do infrastructure improvements, they'd need to be removed. So,
Yeah, and just to reiterate something I think you've already said in previous meetings, the trees being replanted follow our tree plan for the city's tree plan and
Yes.
the variability in species we want.
yeah, and the state did a lot to make sure that they met that. So I really do appreciate the assistance on that. I mean, it took a lot off of if we would have had to do that through our grant program, I mean, at the cheapest, it would have been, let's see, 100 trees at roughly $1,000 a tree is $100,000. So, I mean, that's at the very cheapest. If we would have had to do any kind of contracted work, it would have been $5,000 to $8,000 for a tree. So, you know, at least $100,000 that we don't have to foot ourselves is an amazing amount of money. And then the replanting also it's not cheap. So we appreciate that the state helped with that. And I think that in the end, it will look as beautiful as it had before, if not more so. So that's cool. And then secondly, you had talked about, with the loss of our tree grant, one of the things that we do have to look at is, okay, what other programs are we going to be running for the rest of the year? One of the things that I have been tasked with, and I would like your guys' assistance on, but it's up to you guys, shoreline restoration along Lily Lake. So we want to run a project where we do some form of shoreline restoration, with the work that's occurring in that area now that Chipotle's open. We want to create, we retain public access along the shoreline there, and we would like to do something nice, put in some kind of kayak launch or, remove invasive species and plant native species, something to that effect, make it look good and make it a place that our people can actually use. So one of my tasks for the next coming months is gonna be looking at getting a project together for that, and so I'd like your guys' opinions on those things, and, I mean, maybe not run it through the commission, but, you know, just at least get your sign off on some stuff, so.
I have a lot of communities looking into kayak launches, so it's becoming very popular.
Yeah,
I think that the extension of the trail is gonna be nice when it's done, you know, over around Stone Lake too. It's getting very walkable there. Finally, along that Stone Lake Beach, you don't have to have people pushing strollers in the road and all that now with that trail being paved and getting completed. I'm not sure, where does that end? Just at Waverly when they, on this one, or did they do anything along Waverly? I noticed the utility flags along Waverly towards the ski beach, and I didn't know whether any of that was,
I actually don't know the full ending point, but I'm pretty sure it is just there at Waverly. I know Mark talked about it earlier today, I didn't have a chance to take a look at it.
of course, one of the big things in our study was the carbon reduction, so I think we have to look at that in some ways. Now the water department's getting ready to bid a utility truck that's to run on the propane or LNG or whatever the.
Compressed natural gas
Yeah,
or whatever it is.
So that it's
Yeah,
less carbon, so.
yeah, I'm interested to see what you guys end up with.
I'm working on that now.
Yeah,
One thing I wouldn't mind talking about, even with a smaller group, right, is efforts to bring in other city departments. So that is one thing I think we should focus on in the next 2 months. Try and get more buy-in from other peoples in the city for
Yeah.
the Sustainability Commission, how we can bolster their efforts, right? I don't want to tell them what to do, but see how we can help and promote them.
yeah, I agree with that.
I would think they all have ideas, and we can help stimulate more of those and see what we can do,
Yeah.
because that's our goal, is to actually influence city operations and
Be
city-
more sustainable, yeah.
And citizen stuff, industrial,
Yeah.
Yeah.
concerns, and see if we can get everybody on the same page a little bit, so.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. I think the next 2 months would be a perfect timeline. You know, we start to talk about next year's budgets and everything in June, July, August, so it would be good to get ahead of those conversations and say, hey, if we want to be more sustainable, these are things we can do that will help also save money in the long run.
Okay. Can
So-
we set a target to have more city peoples here for the July meeting?
Well, this is April, so we could say May meeting.
Or May, June,
Yeah.
July? Oh,
Yeah.
you think you can get people together in a month? 'Cause
Why not?
it's- It falls
Yeah.
on you.
Yeah,
Can you send out, I mean, you're the city employee, can you just send out like a calendar invite?
yeah,
And then
We could do that,
say,
yeah.
Like, we'd love to hear if you can.
yeah. I mean, we talked about doing like a meeting kind of similar to the one we did previously, where it was like a working session, but specifically maybe like either a projects meeting type working session or a department head meetings type working session, where we had all of them in the same room and we discussed it
Yeah.
separately and then brought those concerns to the commission. It's up to you guys what you guys want to do in that regard, but I mean, I think May is a perfect time to start looking at least have the meeting set by the end of May, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that way we have time to actually create action items or whatever. Or,
It would be good having Ty involved too. He's a good member of this commission because of his involvement with his company. Does a lot of work in the areas of sustainability for clients that are, you know, water utilities, cities. You know, they designed the solar array at the wastewater plant. So they
Yeah.
did some of the things that we did. So I think it'll be good to have him involved. So.
yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. I think that we could, I think having something together, at least, I mean, at least have the meeting scheduled by the end of May for June or July, that would be fine. But I'm saying, you know, why not shoot to have them here in May, and then we would have 2 months to kind of come back and say, hey, these are real changes that we could make next year that would be efficient, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe target a couple of department heads per meeting or a couple of departments per meeting.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Maybe one or two, for each meeting. If they were all here, we'd be here for a few hours.
Right.
Yeah, no, 100%, at least 2 hours. The way we talk, probably more.
Maybe aggressive of it too, but we'll
Yeah.
shoot for that, I guess.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think there are small things that we could do as a city to become more sustainable. both like carbon footprint wise, but also budget wise, very easily. I mean, for example, what is up with all the redundancy of mowing crews? Like, maybe we just had a central mowing crew that took care of operations for multiple people. That way sewer, water, and parks didn't have to maintain their own fleet of mowers and have redundancy in those positions, you know?
We used to do our own concrete restoration, but we've kind of taken it over to smaller concrete businesses that are getting started, you know, and because it really, there's so much maintenance on the water system that it's really not, having people doing, the concrete is kind of not what they do, and
Yeah.
it takes them away from doing the maintenance that's needed, so.
Yeah.
You're right, that's another possibility to look at, so. Any other ideas?
Fresh out.
Well, I think our Friday starts probably about 9 to 10 o'clock,
I'll be there
10 o'clock, so.
at
whenever-
9 o'clock, getting
Yeah,
everything
I've
started,
blocked
set
out
up.
Friday for whatever we need, so.
Yeah,
We'll, as soon as we get the few details we
I'll
don't
get
have on the
it,
timeline.
I'll get a
then
text
Tucker
message
will
out to
send something
everyone that
everybody.
has like final time and date stuff ready to go. Yeah,
So, everybody's good, do we have a motion to adjourn?
do we need one?
Unless, do we have anything else? Oh, okay, well, I will adjourn.